My wife turned me into a vegetative state, simply because I wanted her to terminate that risky business merger. I thought it was the career ambition of a professional alpha female, until the year I lay paralyzed in a hospital bed, when I finally realized it was a conspiracy she orchestrated with her lover. I became an empty shell, forced to watch her laugh and chat with that investment banker in my penthouse. Finally, to fully control my assets, they deliberately pushed me off the yacht. As I sank into the freezing seawater and my consciousness faded, I finally saw through this meticulously planned murder. Reborn, I'll make this adulterous pair lose everything. Darling, I feel something's wrong with this recent project. Will you accompany me to meet the legal team? Lin Yuqing's gentle voice floated from the study, sending a shiver down my spine. My hand instinctively touched my neck, as if still feeling the suffocating rush of seawater. What's wrong? Seeing my lack of response, Lin Yuqing approached with a cup of coffee, genuine concern in her eyes. I glanced at the pitch-black liquid in the cup, as impenetrable as the depths of her heart. Darling, her gaze flickered when she noticed the bloodshot redness in my eyes. Clenching my fists to suppress the urge to seize this woman's throat, I forced a smile. All right, I'll accompany you. In my previous life, it was this very meeting that exposed her prepared merger plan. We had clearly agreed when marrying to keep business and affection separate, never interfering with each other's companies. After discovering the merger plan, Lin Yuqing had tearfully claimed she wanted to prove her capabilities, to build a shared commercial empire for us both. I was an orphan, and had quickly entered into marriage after meeting Lin Yuqing. Lin Yuqing possessed exceptional abilities, striking appearance, and a gentle, caring nature. I always considered myself incredibly fortunate, prioritizing her in everything after marriage, even conceding in business competitions out of respect for her decisions. Seeing her so career-driven now, I harbored no reservations about this unexpected merger proposal. Instead, I guided her through thorough due diligence investigations. Yet we discovered this was a high-risk project, a merger riddled with traps. Terminating it before signing became the wisest course to limit losses. But Lin Yuqing stubbornly refused to abandon it, insisting on pushing the project forward. At the time, I couldn't comprehend her obstinacy and tried reasoning gently. This venture's risks are catastrophic for both us and the company. If you want mergers, we can abandon this and find better projects. I don't want others. I want this project. I don't need your projects. I dismissed her outburst as stress-induced hysteria, never probing the subtext. During our argument, she suddenly grabbed the blue and white porcelain vase from the table and smashed it against my head. That one hit sent me straight into a vegetative state. Lin Yuqing, however, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Especially when she heard the doctor say I might be paralyzed for life with impaired consciousness, she actually smiled. The first few days, she still dutifully wiped me down and cared for me attentively. But before long, a strange man named Jiang Hao started appearing in my hospital room, looking down at me condescendingly. Really a vegetable now? Rest assured, no one will ever stand in our way again. From that day on, I was left in the hospital room like trash. They'd only call the nursing staff when they remembered, and sometimes even got intimate in front of me for a thrill. But 2 months later, the man began to find me too inconvenient and started urging Lin Yuqing to dispose of me. Lin Yuqing initially hesitated, but under Jiang Hao's sweet-talking gumsure, she ultimately wavered. My darling, this vegetative body is nothing but a burden. Don't you want us to be together openly? Only when he dies can all his assets truly become ours. Who cares about the life or death of a vegetable? They conspired to push my comatose body off the yacht, sinking me into the icy depths of the sea. After death, my consciousness regained clarity. Remembering those days confined to the hospital bed, my soul trembled with rage as I watched my death get ruled as accidental. The adulterous pair legitimately inherited all my assets, even extorting massive compensation from the yacht company using my death as pretext. Thankfully, I was reborn, or I'd never have rested in peace. Staring at Lin Yuqing's elegant departing figure, waves of fury surged within me. The business empire I'd built through exhausting efforts, every matter handled according to her preferences, yet she held only that investment bank manager in her heart. Not only did she cuckold me spectacularly, but also conspired to kill me and seize my company. Since you and Jiang Hao are so eager for this risky project, I'll oblige you. Let's see how you'll manage this merger deal without my financial backing. Lying in bed at night, I tossed and turned in sleeplessness, contemplating revenge plans while resisting the urge to strangle the sleeping Lin Yuqing beside me. Eventually, I went to the balcony and lit a cigar to calm myself. After careful consideration, I contacted the best commercial security company to install hidden surveillance systems in both my office and home. I'd always worked endlessly, frequent business trips making me feel guilty toward Lin Yuqing. Every return brought her luxury goods. Now I realized, she likely rendezvoused with her lover during my absences, while I was worrying about her loneliness. The next day, I calmly accompanied Lin Yuqing to meet the legal team, meticulous in my attentiveness throughout the journey. As expected, the meeting confirmed this merger deal had been in progress for 3 months. Lin Yuqing, just like in our past life, put on a pitiful act, gazing at me with tear-filled eyes. Husband, I'm sorry. I just wanted so badly to prove my capabilities. I know we agreed not to interfere with each other's business, but after seeing so many merger cases, I wanted to try it myself. You understand me, right? I sneered inwardly. How had I never noticed before what an excellent actress this woman was? Not only deceitful, but downright vicious. Her talk of mutual non-interference was never about keeping agreements, just about keeping me away from her schemes. Of course I understand. I'll support whatever my wife wants to do. What's a little merger case? We'll handle it together. This time I didn't let her meet with the investment banking consultants. Embroiled in the thrill of her apparent success, she didn't even grow suspicious, surprising for a supposed business tycoon. Probably never expecting such eager compliance. A flicker of surprise crossed Lin Yuqing's face before being replaced by smug satisfaction. I didn't miss her shifting expressions. No doubt she was already laughing inwardly about how easily manipulated I seemed. While I was in a meeting, Lin Yuqing secretly made a phone call, radiant with delight as she bragged to the person on the line. I told you, Lu Yuan is too much of a fool to catch on. He still worships me like a treasure. When will you come review the proposal? I miss you so much. Hearing Lin Yuqing's coquettish tone, I felt flames burning in my eyes. Bitch, just enjoy your triumph a little longer. I began complying with her every wish, not only supporting her projects but also assigning her the best team, which left her thoroughly pleased. The security company's equipment was fully installed. Using workload as an excuse, I voluntarily moved into the study. This played right into her hands. On the surveillance feed, she cuddled with her phone every night, flirting with Jiang Hao in that alluring demeanor I'd never witnessed in our 2 years of marriage. I gnashed my teeth in hatred. After weeks of investigation and reviewing office surveillance footage, I'd precisely mapped out Jiang Hao's routines. Every day, he drove the Porsche I gave Lin Yuqing, sneaking off to meet his lover during my meetings. What a clever trick. I backed up all the surveillance footage I'd collected. Perhaps wary of my constant presence at the company lately, Lin Yuqing never brought Jiang Hao to our home. Instead, she rushed straight to his private club after work each day. I requested a week's leave from the board, telling Lin Yuqing I was going to inspect projects in Silicon Valley. She packed my luggage with gentle affection, feigning reluctance, though the triumph in her eyes was practically overflowing. I rent a high-rise office across from Jiang Hao's frequented club, installed professional telephoto lenses, and began surveillance from the perfect vantage point. Just as expected, on the very night I flew to Silicon Valley, Lin Yuqing drove to pick up Jiang Hao and took him straight to our villa. I smirked coldly. Couldn't wait, huh? After they entered, I activated the home surveillance feed. The adulterous pair barely crossed the threshold before desperately tangling together. That idiot is finally gone. I missed you so much. How's the project coming along? Lin Yuqing cooed. Everything's going smoothly, just waiting to close the net. Details? Don't be impatient, let's talk about that later. Watching the two of them getting lovey-dovey, I felt bile rising in my throat. By the way, my valuation adjustment agreement, VM, is expiring soon. Remember to make the payment on time. Darling, this month's dividends haven't cleared yet. I'll transfer the money as soon as they do. If it's urgent, I can ask Lu Yuan for more project startup funds. Huh, so they're using M&A as a front to siphon funds. For the past 2 years, I've focused entirely on the group's development, never questioning where Lin Yuqing spent her income. All household expenses were charged to my black card, and I even gave her a generous monthly allowance. All I wanted was to let my wife live like a princess, but she ends up using my money to fund her lover's investment projects. How fucking ironic. Fuming with anger, I received a message from Lin Yuqing. Darling, I just saw a limited edition Patek Philippe that I absolutely adore. It costs $8 million though. Struggling to contain my rage, I pretended to play dumb. Honey, that watch is quite expensive. Wait until I return from Silicon Valley. I'll bring you an even more special gift. Through the surveillance feed, Lin Yuqing clearly stiffened, her face darkening momentarily before sending another coquettish message. But sweetheart, this model suits me perfectly, and it's the only one available. Won't you buy it for me, please? Sorry, dear. I've got a video conference with investors coming up. Let's talk later. I powered off my phone directly. Thinking of using my money to fund her lover's projects? Dream on. I'll make sure she vomits up every penny she's swallowed over these 2 years. Lin Yuqing angrily threw her phone onto the couch. Lu Yuan, that miser, won't even spend a mere $8 million. Coiling into Jiang Hao's embrace, she purred. You're the only one who truly cherishes me. I stared at the screen until I almost burst into bitter laughter. A mere $8 million? With her third-tier investment banking salary, she couldn't afford that, even saving every penny for 10 years. Not only did she shamelessly use it to subsidize her lover's venture, but she even had the nerve to call me stingy. Watching the pair quickly roll onto the bed, I couldn't be bothered to keep viewing this trashy show anyway. These surveillance videos would eventually become courtroom evidence. Throughout the week, I had private investigators dig deeper into Jiang Hao's background. This so-called investment banking elite turned out to be a financial fraudster surviving on his looks. His members-only club welcomed various socialites and wealthy matrons, proving Lin Yuqing clearly wasn't his only target. To put it bluntly, he was just a high-class con artist. Yet he had Lin Yuqing completely wrapped around his finger, willingly becoming his fundraising instrument. The day before my scheduled return, I deliberately texted Lin Yuqing in advance. Only after watching her reluctantly bid farewell to Jiang Hao through the surveillance did I head home. But the moment I stepped inside, I sensed something wrong. Rodin's Thinker bronze statue from the study had disappeared. If it were just a piece of art, that would be one thing. The crucial issue is my most important surveillance device was hidden inside it. It seems they've discovered it. Now I have to advance my plan. Can't wait for this merger deal to be signed. I activated the backup surveillance system to check what went wrong, but unexpectedly saw the screen switch to an unfamiliar venue. It wasn't until Jiang Hao appeared in the frame that I realized this was his private club. Fast-forwarding through earlier footage, it turned out Jiang Hao had taken a fancy to the bronze statue's artistic value and casually appropriated it. This actually worked in my favor. Now I could monitor his den directly. Anyway, there are other cameras in the house. When Lin Yuqing returned home, I casually inquired about the missing Thinker statue in the study. Her eyes noticeably flickered before she fabricated a lie. The cleaning lady accidentally knocked it over last week. We threw it away after it broke. If you like it, we can order a new one. I didn't press further. I just wanted to watch her squirm. This kind of lie spoken off the top of her head. I've lost count how many times she's told me these. By the way, honey, you still haven't transferred the startup funds for the merger and acquisition case. The finance department is pressing. Did you forget? Having built my fortune from scratch, I'd always fully supported Lin Yuqing's career. Every time she had a project, I would invest heavily to ensure she never suffered the slightest setback in business. But in my previous life, after learning of my death, she had even stopped pretending, quickly going public with Jiang Hao while conspiring to divide my assets. This time, this pair of snakes won't squeeze a single cent from me. Actually, I recently invested all our liquid funds in a blockchain project I fancied. I can't support your merger case for now. What? You made such a huge investment without consulting me? What about my project's startup funds? I put on a contrite expression. Sorry, darling. Why don't you use your investment bank's resources to sustain it these few months? Once my project breaks even, I'll double my support for your merger case. Lin Yuqing pondered for a moment before reluctantly speaking. Then you must promise me that when the project yields returns, you'll not only make up for this startup capital, but also increase investments for me. And we must reserve shares in our new company. I knew she would agree. That greedy expression of hers. How could I have been so blind before? But on the surface, I maintained a gentle smile. Of course, don't I earn money just to support your career? That's more like it. Lin Yuqing tossed out these words and walked thoughtfully towards the bedroom. I knew exactly what she was thinking, needing to inject funds into Jiang Hao's venture capital project while maintaining his extravagant lifestyle and covering merger expenses. Though I'd given her considerable money before, it probably all went into the bottomless pit of Jiang Hao's ventures. She must have no reserves left now. At this critical moment, she wouldn't dare confess to me, as I'd undoubtedly investigate the funds flow. She'd have to figure out how to raise money herself to survive this period. Meanwhile, I had already transferred all core company assets to offshore trusts. After consulting top-tier lawyers, I was certain that given her severe marital misconduct, I could make her leave with nothing in the divorce. Not long after, I noticed the disappearance of limited edition watches and luxury handbags from our home. When Lin Yuqing was asleep, I hacked into her phone. As expected, I found transaction records for these items on second-hand luxury platforms. Shockingly, she had generously transferred an $8 million investment to Jiang Hao. I backed up all evidence. Turns out they had been involved long before I started my business, maintaining their relationship all along. Even on our wedding day, Lin Yuqing had smilingly messaged Jiang Hao, saying she would use my money to fund his projects. I stared coldly at her sleeping face. All these years of devotion might as well have been thrown down the drain. Suddenly, Lin Yuqing's eyes flew open. Seeing me standing in the bedroom, she jolted in panic and scrambled for her phone on the nightstand. After confirming her phone was still in its place, she let out a sigh of relief and said reproachfully, "What are you doing standing here in the middle of the night? You scared me to death." I sneered, feeling guilty. Lin Yuqing froze visibly, clearly not expecting me to speak in such an icy tone. For a moment, she seemed to suspect I might have discovered something. She cautiously probed, "What's wrong with you?" My clenched fist tightened and loosened repeatedly before I finally resumed my usual calm tone. Nothing. Just checking if you're sleeping. LL. The project must be exhausting. Rest some more. Seeing me revert to my former gentle demeanor, Lin Yuqing secretly relaxed. After that day, I outwardly maintained my daily routine while devoting more time to work. I was waiting for the day Lin Yuqing would lose patience. Every fortnight, Lin Yuqing would ask when my blockchain project would start generating returns. I always offered evasive excuses while promising her higher investment returns. Though still harboring doubts, she ultimately let greed cloud her judgment. Week after week, I watched helplessly as her most prized possessions, the limited edition handbags she used to flaunt, custom jewelry, even haute couture gowns purchased during fashion weeks, were gradually listed on second-hand luxury platforms. I snorted in derision, determined to see how long she could keep this up. The day finally came when she could no longer contain her fury. Lu Yuan, that bullshit blockchain project of yours still hasn't materialized. Don't you know my merger deal is about to fall through? These past few months I've had to cover investment bank expenses and manage the new company. Where am I supposed to get all this money? Are you even a man? All you know is how to cheat your own wife out of her money. What new company? I immediately seized the flaw in her words, sharp eyes locking onto her. She panicked, beginning to stammer incoherently. I was just speaking nonsense in anger. There's no new company. But I pressed on relentlessly, refusing to let this loophole slip away. She was cornered by the questioning and suddenly pushed me away hysterically. Are you insane? I told you there's nothing. What's this madness? Are you trying to ruin this merger deal? As she spoke, she patted the briefcase containing project documents. I looked at the merger case that had been prepared for 8 months and chuckled coldly. What merger deal? Who exactly are you and Jiang Hao trying to bury with this merger trap? What are you? Lin Yuqing froze instantly, staring at me in disbelief. I dropped the pretense. Since this project was nearing its final stage anyway, I wanted to see how much responsibility that financial fraud she's been protecting could shoulder for her. Lin Yuqing, drop the act. I know everything. The divorce papers are already prepared. Get out of this house immediately. With that, I directly pushed her out of the CEO office, ignoring her pounding on the door, her sobs, and her threats. Before long, the commotion outside fell silent. But my phone started vibrating incessantly. Lin Yuqing directly accused me in the Financial Circle's executive group chat of being a nouveau riche who rose through her family's connections, now throwing her aside after getting rich, even stabbing her in the back during her crucial merger acquisition project. Reading those tearful accusations, you'd think I'd commit some heinous crime. I just saw President Lin in the elevator. She's nearly broken. This man is too cruel, lacking even basic professional ethics. Seeing others join the condemnation, industry insiders who knew nothing started denouncing me in the group. I turned off notifications, unwilling to entertain these bandwagon-jumping amateurs. Lin Yuqing's maneuver was clearly pressure tactics through industry reputation, trying to force my continued support for her project. But she might as well be chasing a pipe dream. Since I've made my move, I won't leave her any chance to recover. Lu Yuan, don't go too far. Open the door and let me in immediately, or I'll make sure everyone knows you're suppressing female executives and destroying business ethics. I directly added her to the blacklist. Accessed the surveillance feed from Jiang Hao's club. As expected, Lin Yuqing stormed into Jiang Hao's presence. The moment she entered, she threw herself into his arms crying bitterly, as if she'd suffered the greatest injustice imaginable. A flicker of impatience crossed Jiang Hao's face. Over recent months, the investments Lin Yuqing brought had dwindled. Even his club expenses were starting to get discounted. The hostesses at the nightclub complained about his stinginess, which thoroughly displeased him. Upon hearing about my decision to divorce Lin Yuqing, he blurted out without thinking, "Will you still get investments in the future then?" Lin Yuqing froze. Jiang Hao quickly recovered and pulled her into a comforting embrace. What I meant was, after he treated you like this, does he think he can just freely use all the resources you've provided these months? Such an unmanly act. How can you let him off so easily? He wants to divorce me. He already knows the merger deal was a trap. What should we do now? Divorce? He's dreaming. Did he find any evidence about the merger scheme? As his lawful wife, his assets rightfully belong to you. If something unfortunate happened to him right now. Jiang Hao trailed off, exchanging knowing glances with Lin Yuqing. The two began plotting a deadly scheme. An exact replay of the script from my previous life. After their discussion, Lin Yuqing frantically started calling me to arrange a meeting, as if I'd dance to their tune. Not a chance in hell. True enough, after being left hanging for 2 days, she finally stormed into the corporate lobby and made a scene. She thought my silence amid the financial circle's vicious slandering meant I had no proof of her commercial fraud. But I'm simply waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Lu Yuan, you're utterly heartless. The merger is at a critical juncture. Yet you're kicking me when I'm down. You won't even let me into the office. Have you completely abandoned your business reputation? I've overlooked how you've exploited my family's resources all these years, but why are you still doing this to me? Lin Yuqing's hysterical shouts quickly drew a crowd. She was dressed professionally, but her face was haggard and distraught, with several deliberately drawn bruises on her wrists that couldn't help but fuel speculation. I was waiting for her to make a scene exactly like this. I had long arranged for financial media reporters to capture the entire scene on site, quickly posting it across major platforms. Rising business star suppresses female executive. Financial elite breaks down over commercial violence. The news rapidly topped trending searches, sparking intense discussions across the internet. Naturally, with unanimous condemnation of my actions. Is this man even human? To kick someone when they're down during a critical merger moment. Isn't this destroying a woman's career? Another nouveau riche bully throwing his weight around. Why doesn't he just die? This kind of businessman deserves to be banned from the industry. Some even dug up my entrepreneurial history. No wonder. Turns out he's a self-made poor boy. No surprise he's so uncultured. Now he won't even observe basic business ethics. This was exactly the effect I wanted. The fiercer the current condemnation, the clearer everyone would see this woman's hypocrisy when the truth came out. I directly emailed the board, stating I needed to handle personal PR crisis. Though the board members knew my character and believed I wouldn't do such things, they still advised me to resolve it quickly to protect the company's reputation. I walked expressionlessly into the lobby where crowds had gathered to watch the spectacle, whispering when I appeared. Lin Yuqing knelt directly before me. Lu Yuan, if I've done something wrong, you can point it out. But the merger is in its final stage. You can't destroy the entire project like this. I can't even enter my office now. Do whatever you want of me, but don't ruin both companies' futures like this. The surrounding crowd's eyes were filled with disdain, all criticizing my heartlessness. I pushed Lin Yuqing aside and raised my voice. Lin Yuqing, I'll say it again, I want a divorce. As for this merger case, take it to the real mastermind. My words echoed loudly, leaving the room in stunned silence. Lu Yuan, even if you don't support this project, why slander my professionalism? I know you look down on my abilities, but we're at the final stage. This affects the livelihoods of hundreds of employees. How can you be so cruel? As Lin Yuqing tearfully pleaded, the crowd struggled to discern who was telling the truth. Lin Yuqing, I gave you dignity. I might not pursue your commercial fraud, but the divorce is non-negotiable. With that, I turned and walked away. Seeing that even this tactic couldn't sway me, Lin Yuqing feigned a fainting spell in the lobby. She was rushed to the hospital, gaining another wave of sympathy points. I had long prepared evidence, secretly recorded conversations between Lin Yuqing and Jiang Hao, financial transaction records, surveillance footage from the club, all carefully compiled into comprehensive report materials submitted to the CSRC and financial regulatory authorities. Meanwhile, I shared this evidence in executive chat groups within the financial circle, instantly silencing those who had viciously denounced me before. Upon reviewing these shocking fraud evidence, regulatory authorities immediately launched investigations into Lin Yuqing and Jiang Hao, freezing relevant assets. These materials were soon leaked online, reigniting trending searches once again. Of course, some well-orchestrated maneuvering from my side contributed to this. The true colors of this despicable couple deserve to be exposed to the world. Lin Yuqing, who had originally feigned fainting, now genuinely collapsed upon seeing the news and was rushed to the ICU. Yet Jiang Hao, whom she constantly pined for, never appeared. In this public relations storm, he desperately sought to dissociate himself. Lin Yuqing's parents also didn't show up. In their eyes, only profit mattered. This daughter was just a pawn anyway, since they still had a perfect son. And with such a massive scandal breaking out now? So when Lin Yuqing woke up, the only person she saw was me sitting by her hospital bed. Seeing her frightened and haggard appearance, I revealed a meaningful smile. What do you want to do? My project. You've ruined me. Why are you doing this to me? Didn't you say you supported me the most? Weren't these all your own choices? Did I force you to collude with Jiang Hao? My bloodshot eyes glared as I couldn't help but grab her wrist. Watching her face contort in pain, I finally released her coldly. Lin Yuqing, compared to what you've done, this is nothing. You merely lost your reputation, but I actually lost my life once. There's more drama coming. Since Jiang Hao was hiding from Lin Yuqing, I decided to deliver Lin Yuqing right to his doorstep. After the doctor confirmed Lin Yuqing's condition had stabilized, I took her directly to Jiang Hao's private club. Lin Yuqing didn't understand my intentions, but was clearly secretly delighted, impatiently pressing the club's doorbell. Jiang Hao's irritated voice came from inside. Who is it? It's me, Jiang Hao. Yuqing is here. I brought the merger proposal. The room suddenly fell silent. After a long pause, Jiang Hao flung open the door while cursing loudly. Are you insane? How dare you come now? Get out. Get out. He didn't even glance at the proposal, already trying to shove Lin Yuqing outside. I pressed my hand against the door and pushed Lin Yuqing inside. When Jiang Hao saw me, his entire body froze. He then forced himself to straighten up and lift his chin. Lin Yuqing couldn't comprehend why Jiang Hao's attitude had turned so hostile. Still clutching the hem of his suit sleeve pleadingly, she was interrupted when from the VIP room of the club came a coquettish female voice. "Darling, why are you taking so long? I can't wait any longer. Are we signing this deal or not?" I leaned against the wall with folded arms, watching the drama unfold. Let's see how Lin Yuqing will handle this. Jiang Hao, who is that? I've been working my fingers to the bone for your project, and you're here doing business with another woman? You bastard. Lin Yuqing threw the project documents to the floor and lunged hysterically at Jiang Hao. Hearing the commotion, the woman in the room adjusted her clothes and walked out, giving Lin Yuqing a disdainful look. So this is that old hag you mentioned. How pathetic. With that, she strode off carrying her Hermes bag. Humiliated and unable to bear Lin Yuqing's outburst, Jiang Hao shoved her to the ground. What the hell are you crazy about? Disbelief washed over Lin Yuqing's face as tears streamed down uncontrollably. Seeing my goal achieved, I left humming a tune, thoughtfully closing the door behind them. As soon as the door closed, a commotion erupted inside. Women's screams, men's curses, and the shattering of glassware intermingled. Lin Yuqing, now you've tasted the bitterness of betrayal yourself. This incident sent shockwaves through the business community. Under investigation by regulatory authorities and online criticism, the investment bank where Lin Yuqing worked directly terminated her contract. I'm looking forward to seeing how these two blacklisted financial scammers will maintain their lavish lifestyle. Coldly watching the surveillance footage from the club, Jiang Hao was kicking and beating Lin Yuqing, all traces of his former tenderness gone. He even brought other wealthy women to discuss projects right in front of her. Lin Yuqing served him meekly, organizing documents, cleaning the club, and even helping him deal with creditors. Yet Jiang Hao found her a nuisance, refusing to even let her enter the office. As their lives grew increasingly destitute, Jiang Hao turned his schemes towards me again. One night as I was walking home from work, he actually drove his Porsche straight at me and rammed into me. I was on guard, but still got clipped by the car. To make the injuries look more convincing, I deliberately smashed my head against the guardrail. Jiang Hao saw me lying on the ground and didn't even check if I was alive. Fleeing in panic the moment he saw me lying in a pool of blood, I was rushed to the hospital. When I opened my eyes, there were criminal police officers in my hospital room. Jiang Hao acted too hastily this time. Based on the evidence from the scene and surveillance footage, the police quickly identified him. However, it remains unclear whether this was premeditated murder or an accident. When the police asked me about my grudge with Jiang Hao, I feigned hesitation before finally revealing his misdeeds with Lin Yuqing. The police have tentatively concluded it as a crime of passion, but found the motive still insufficient. I hesitated for a moment before finally speaking with a troubled expression. I installed a surveillance device in the club, originally meant to protect trade secrets, but it was somehow discovered and taken away by Jiang Hao. Perhaps it could be helpful to you all. I handed over all the surveillance footage I had captured at the club during this period to the police. After a night of interrogation, the police finally uncovered evidence of Jiang Hao's premeditated murder. And not just once. Before Lin Yuqing caused the scene at the company, they had conspired to eliminate me without leaving a trace and seize my assets. But they never anticipated the situation would escalate so quickly. Their scandal erupted online, disrupting their plans. After I sent Lin Yuqing to the club, they engaged in a violent altercation, even nearly throwing the priceless merger documents out the window. It was Lin Yuqing who desperately shielded those documents. When Jiang Hao learned Lin Yuqing had even lost her investment banking job, he became even less willing to tolerate this liability. Already drowning in debt and now forced to support a disgraced woman, his impatience grew. He shoved her viciously, trying to throw her out of the club. Look at yourself, this disgusting sight. You're nothing but a jinx. Get out. Don't. Jiang Hao, you can't treat me like this. I've sacrificed so much for you. You can't do this. Lu Yuan. Yes, Lu Yuan still has assets. We're not divorced yet. Lin Yuqing desperately clutched Jiang Hao's clothes and wailed. In this moment, they turned their attention to me again. After all, Lin Yuqing and I hadn't completed divorce proceedings. If I died, my assets would be inherited by Lin Yuqing. That's why Jiang Hao targeted me again. After watching the surveillance footage, the police looked at me suspiciously. Why didn't you report this evidence earlier? I feigned physical and mental exhaustion. I never watched these videos. After discovering my wife's commercial fraud, I completely fell apart. I've been in a daze every day, never remembering these surveillance records. If I hadn't nearly lost my life this time, I wouldn't have believed they dared to attempt murder. Seeing my disheveled state, the police didn't press further. After all, Enduring this dual betrayal of business and affection would be an unbearable blow to any man. Before leaving, they simply patted my shoulder sympathetically. Watching the police depart, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Next, it's time for that bastard couple to pay the price. Of course I'd seen those videos. I knew Jiang Hao's schemes, but had he not actually attempted murder, even if I'd reported him, the impact would have been limited. Oh, and after he caused me actual harm, would the law deliver proper punishment? Soon, Jiang Hao was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment for attempted premeditated murder. Lin Yuqing, as an accomplice, received a 5-year sentence. During sentencing, Lin Yuqing knelt before me, tearfully pleading for leniency, saying she still needed to handle the merger case and couldn't go to prison. But she was still taken away by bailiffs. I certainly knew she still had a merger and acquisition case in her hands. Perhaps even now she has no idea that the project she worked so hard on is actually an outright Ponzi scheme. When she gets out of prison, she'll experience firsthand the feeling of watching her painstakingly built financial empire turn into piles of worthless paper. Since she knowingly pushed forward with this scam in the first place, she must bear the consequences of the project's collapse. After Lin Yuqing was imprisoned, her parents came to confront me multiple times. They waved the merger and acquisition documents in their hands, shouting that I should compensate for the project's losses, claiming this was my obligatory duty. How can you call yourself human? Even if Yuqing did something wrong, this project involves so many investors and employees. You have the responsibility and obligation to clean up this mess. If you refuse to handle it yourself, at the very least you should give us the breach of contract penalty and compensation funds. I watched coldly as this pair of insatiably greedy old people spoke, their words focused entirely on money. They were no kind-hearted individuals, just looking to use the project's damage as an excuse to extort more money. Ignoring their unreasonable demands, I directly filed for divorce. Lin Yuqing was clearly the at-fault party with conclusive evidence. The divorce case was settled quickly, leaving her with nothing. Moreover, since the merger case was her personal act of fraud, I bore no responsibility for the project's consequences. At this point, everything was settled. I sold that mansion filled with memories, bought a quiet villa anew, and devoted all my energy